Welcome to the Redvee TV show, supported by Chapel House for the 2023 season. And on this week's show, we look at the list of departing Saints, Academy Grand Final win, Super League Coach of the Year, and Young Player of the Year nominations. Don't know why that affects us, but we will. And we also look ahead to a little game on Saturday against the Warrington Wolves in the elimination playoff. James Roby's final ever home game, unless we clone him.
Yeah, unless we can somehow get him to roll the years back. So he's 27, 28 instead of 37, 38. Yeah.
I suspect if he was 27, 28, there'd be a massive move to the NRL in the offering.
Well, probably, yes, that's true.
Okay then, Kev, how are you? Okay?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad. We'll get straight into it then. List of departing Saints was named before last Friday's home game. No surprises, really. Matty Foster, who has got himself a deal at Salford. Taylor Pemberton, who's going to York. Lewis Baxter and Dan Norman off to Lee. Louis off to the Fire Brigade. James Roby, we don't know. To
immortality. Yes. To immortality, David.
Cryo frozen. Will Hopoate, obviously at the end of his deal, we don't know whether he'll be continuing playing or will he be going back to Australia. Jamar Sambu, Dan Hill, Dan Moss, and Wesley Bruins on the end, who was off to Warrington.
Yeah. As you say, I don't think there's many surprises in that. I know there was a bit of talk over whether Hopper would get another year. But the rest of the lads, they've been kind of bit part or maybe injured this year and not been able to show what they can do. Not got the opportunity and not grasped the opportunity when it's come for them. But a couple of them, as you say, have got good moves there. With the likes of, it's good to see Matty Foster getting a deal over at Salford. I know Taylor Pemberton's over on loan at York, and he'll be looking to kind of get a contract with the club, with York or a club similar to York, you'd imagine. And then the lads going to Lee and Warrington. Yeah, it's fair enough. And as we say, thanks to the departing Saints. And it's a bit of a reshuffle when you get to the lower ends of the squad. But we always say there's a conveyor belt of young kids coming through that you then supplement with signings. And I take it it's not really different to many seasons where you kind of just see somebody else coming through in a salary cap sport and you think, well, they're worthy of a goal now.
Absolutely. I think with the young lads, every year you get 6 or 7 added to the squad. And it's like the Hunger Games. If one survives, you're doing well. If 2 come through, even better. I just want to touch on Matty Foster and Will Hopoate, actually. Now, I think you coined the phrase, when he plays, he's a Rolls Royce. And I think out of his performances, 80-90% of the time, he plays really well. And he's a valuable member of the team. Unfortunately, he has suffered injuries. Just unfortunate. I don't think he'd really had a big, long spell of injury before he joined the club. It's just been one niggle after the other. I'm sure it's left him just as disappointed as anyone else. And earlier in the year, we were having fans going, send him home, terminate his contract. You can't do that. And I think the flagship here is Matty Foster and how the club has looked after him throughout his long-term injuries. He's obviously suffered a couple of really bad ones, kept out for a long time. And although he's now not going to make it at Saints, he's got himself a Super League deal at Salford. And that shows the level of care and attention that clubs like St Helens put into the players. And that is what, when players are looking to come to the club, they look at how they're going to be looked after. If you suddenly get an overseas signing, such as Will Hopoate coming in, and you're trying to discard them because of injuries, what signal would that send out to any prospective future player?
Yeah, it's what differentiates a great club from a good club. in my opinion. How they treat the players. It is a two-way street, as you say. Will and Matty are probably frustrated at the number of injuries they've picked up. It's not their fault. Will Hopewati again at weekend over 100 metres again, and you still hear people whinging about him not running it in. Yet he's making 100 metres and he's doing the job that's asked of him. Yeah, you want your players who are coming over from the NRL to shine and to be playing every week, and that's probably you don't risk another year. We will. That's why, because you've got to go off what's happened in the past with him. You can't just say, well, we'll just give him another year just in case. You've got to start thinking, well, it's better for both of us if there's a parting of the ways, and you can move to another club, move into retirement, move into reserve grade, even in Australia, and go and continue your career, enjoying and getting out on the field. There's no saying he will do that because of the injuries. They may just be things that he's just going to keep picking up and only pick up half a dozen games a season. But he has been when he can get on the field, he's a great player. But that's the issue I'm afraid with him. It's when he can get on the field, and him just picking up the injuries through no fault of his own means that when you've got your quarter players not sat in the stands rather than playing, you've got to reassess who you have on that quarter. And I think you could end up having chats about various players who've come over. Have a look at Sia Soliola. When he first came over, he got injured pretty much straight away, didn't he? Then did he get injured again when he came back? Well, if we'd have sent him home straight away, would we have had the likes of Ben Barber coming over to us? Would we have the bigger names that we've had coming into Saints? Because you know what, we look after our players. Or did he say, well, you don't want to go there because if you get one injury, you're out the door. They're paying you off and you're out the door, and they don't want to know. And as I say, I think that just shows a good club from a great club, and the way that we treat our players in that respect is great.
Absolutely.
There's a couple of names on that before you carry on, Dave, that like the departed Saints whose contracts are open. Wello's said in the press that they're going to get new deals. They've been given new deals. Jake Wingfield being one, T. Ritson being another, and one that's not been mentioned. And I'd imagine because he doesn't appear on that graphic, I'm sure Sam Royal only signed a one-year deal last year, so it wouldn't surprise me with him not being part of that graphic if he's not part of the first team squad again next year.
Yeah, I'd expect Sam Royal to get another year. I think he's come on leaps and bounds towards the end of the year, and he's. I think I've mentioned on another video. He's almost gained a level of trust.
Yeah,
that when he's needed, he can do a job in the team. I think someone who was on the fringes of it but never quite got that opportunity was probably Lewis Baxter. He was always in and around the 21-man squad, made the bench occasionally, but never ever seemed to get opportunity to step off and come in and show what he can do. And out of all the departures from the young lads and fringe players, he's probably the one. I just wonder whether just that little bit of disappointment that he never was able to kick on. And I wonder, obviously, George Delaney coming through, people going above him in the pecking order, it just never felt right for him. And maybe for Lewis himself, going and playing Super League for Lee will put him back in the shop window for a move back to a big club.
Yeah, possibly so. I'm sure Lee fans are currently throwing the cups of tea at you right now.
Well, listen, to be fair, if he wants to carry on playing Super League in 2025, he might have to find a new club if they've gone playing Ultimate Rugby.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, Derek's ideas. But you're right.
I don't know who's going to referee Ultimate Rugby, by the way.
I'll do it if Saints are playing, but I'm going to be very, very one-sided. With him, he was under 19s Player of the Year a couple of years ago, wasn't he? So you kind of expected, possibly unfairly, that he was going to kind of step up and come straight into the first team and almost do the Jake Wingfield thing of getting in and getting yourself in the 17, then maybe dropping out for a bit because there's some older heads come back in. Then you get another shot at it. Then all of a sudden you're starting. Then you might be back out again. But you're showing your versatility by playing a bit of prop or second row or loose. And you make yourself invaluable, because I think, mentioned Jake Wingfield, we were saying at the start of the year how key he was to Saints and how much he brings to Saints. And it's good to hear Wello saying that he's got a new deal. And maybe it's just not worked for him. And sometimes that happens where you get a player who comes through, but then there's another player behind them pushing them and ultimately usurps them just because of performances in training, on the field, a little bit different to what Lewis is. George Delaney had it. I'm not sure, but I'd imagine George is a little bit taller than him, might be a little bit more direct running. I don't know. I'm just guessing here, but everything that he does has pushed him into that 17 when we've needed him, with Alex Walmsley and Iggy Parsi missing out.
Yeah, before that'll lead us on to our next point in a minute, but Jake Wingfield, maybe I hold him in greater stature. I just see him as an established first team player who is well worthy of a jersey. Should be in your 17 most weeks. I don't think it was ever in any doubt at all that we would offer him a new deal. I think the only issue would be if he was offered something better elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Obviously, I'm pointing out how Lewis Baxter may have seen his career at Saints going and becoming that, as we said at the start of the year, when we were talking about when the lads were over in Australia, Jake Wingfield was almost a shoo-in for the 17. Yeah, you might say, well, there's a couple of lads who would be ahead of him because you've got like Curtis Siren and Sione Matautia playing second row, so maybe he wouldn't get in there. Morgan Knowles playing at 13, but he provides you that option off the bench of filling in quite a few of them positions. He's probably more prop and big 13 than he is second row, and I may be doing him a disservice there as well. But yeah, you're right. He's someone who you're thinking, is he going to be part of the team? Well, most weeks he will be, because most weeks you're going to have a little injury, a little suspension. You can just fit him in there and he's going to do a great job for you. And we were waxing lyrical about him at the start of the season, and I'd imagine that we'll be doing the same when he comes back from this latest injury. Yeah,
you can just, I'm sure if you added up how many games Sione, Curtis, Joe Batch have missed over the course of the season, he would have been in the 17 every week if he'd been fit.
He'd have been propping probably. He'd have been ahead of George Delaney when Iggy Parsi and Alex Walmsley got injured. And that's nothing against George Delaney, and people might go, nah, because George has come in and done a great job. George has had to come in and do a great job. Or else George would be dropped for the next.
It's a horrible way to look at it. The injury to Jake Wingfield has give opportunity to George Delaney come in, and obviously we've benefited from that because we've realised he's more than capable of playing Super League. But yes, hopefully Jake Wingfield.
I know you want to move on. Are you surprised that T. Ritzen's getting another year?
He's not in and around the 21 at the moment. But obviously, if you're looking at your wing position for, say, Saturday against Warrington, it's a shootout between Will Hopoate and John Bennison. So you're not going to put another winger in the squad who's definitely going to miss out in your 21. So that's by and large the case there. Obviously, we're losing Will Hopoate. We don't know what's coming in the outside backs. Will he improve with another full off season and given his chance to see how Super League works this season? Possibly. Do I ever see him as a starting winger in our best 13? No. Could he be a squad player? Do you know what? It depends on finance, doesn't it? What we're paying him. It's a squad game. It's a salary cap sport. If he is the best option available for the money, then yes. I don't think he's better than John Bennison. I don't think he's better than Will Hopewati. The answer is I will defer to Mike Rush and Paul Whelham's better knowledge than mine.
Just to go to one, and then you can move on. Would you have seen Joe Batchelor as a first team player when he first came in his first season?
No.
Yeah, and that's all you need to know. And I'm not knocking the idea of him not being a first team player or being a first team player. I know he's a little bit older coming in as a championship player, and most players get that season to bed themselves in and kind of learn what Super League's all about. As you say, you just defer to the fact that with another off season and a little bit less naivety and more nous about it, it wouldn't surprise me to see him play quite a few games next year.
With all due respect, Kevin, I thought Joe Batchelor's primary job when he signed for the club in that first season was to work with community saints, trying to get you fit.
Unfortunately, I fell and hurt my back while he was doing that, so I don't know if that goes down as a fail.
Well, look what's happened here since he's gone into the first team and he's not there to do your personal training. You could have been an Adonis.
Well, like Steve Beaton, the darts player. Anyway.
Yeah, you're more Steve Beaton than the Adonis. You could have been Lex Luger. That's one for the kids. Right. It did lead us on to our next point that we were talking about 5 minutes ago. Saints Academy Grand Final winners overcoming the Warrington Wolves on Sunday, 22 points to 6. Derek Trainer's done a great job with the young lads. Fully deserved victory. And it's just what you were saying about, obviously, Lewis Baxter. Was under 18s player of the year, did well in the reserves, came through, didn't quite make it. It's the same with these young lads. Out of this pack of youngsters, I've seen Paul Caswell was commenting on Twitter saying it's one of the strongest groups he's seen. There's probably 4 or 5 of them young lads in that team who have got a really good chance of making it at Saints, but there's never any guarantees. The hard work starts now. There's a potential that none of them make it, and that's why success doesn't go to the heads of anyone at this club.
Yeah, it can't do. You've got to. It's up to the bunch of lads who played in the Academy Grand Final and those who are in and about the squad and are at Saints next year. It's up to them to take the opportunity when it comes along. It's not handed to you. So you look at the young players who's come through. James Roby, he took his opportunity, didn't he? Tommy Makinson took his opportunity. Johnny Lomax took his opportunity, and then keep coming down to the young lads who are in. John Bennison's got the 5 shirt because he took his opportunity. It's what happens. George Delaney has taken his opportunity. Now, I know it's been few and far between for the academy lads, or what you'd say were academy and reserve lads this year coming through. So you look at others with a high squad number that Mackenzie Buckley or Ben Lane or people like that haven't got a chance or earned a chance. But the opportunity will always be there. That it doesn't matter how old you are, if you're good enough, you get in and around that first team. Again, we'll keep on saying his name over and over again because he is the breakout star for Saints for this season in George Delaney. He is proof for this bunch of lads that one of them has gone and taken his chance. And if he keeps on doing what he's doing, he'll be a star for years to come. Yeah,
a couple of the young lads in that squad who are obviously doing really well. Owen Dagnall, the winger, he's got a real opportunity, you feel. Noah Stevens, young prop forward. If you watch some of his highlight reels in the academy, absolute barrels through people. He's been given a 2-year deal with the option of a third, and he'll be a first team squad member next season, learning off the likes of Big Al. And John Vaughan, obviously England Academy captain, he's got his head screwed on. does the things well off the pitch as well as on. And again, another potential star of the future. And there'll be a few more in that team who are hoping to break out. And as great as it is to be academy grand final winners, reserve grand final winners, if we can achieve that at the weekend, that the trophies aren't the be all and end all as a club. It's there to produce players for the first team.
Yes, of course it is. And that's where you mentioned about Lee earlier. That's where, if they're allowed to have an academy and they can get an academy, that's where the sustainability of your club comes in. And I think you look at the teams who've been in and around winning Super League titles over the past couple of years, and you go Saints and Wigan, and then you go back a little bit further and you go Leeds. That's where they get the homegrown lads through who care about the shirt. I don't care if people say, well, George Delaney's from Widnes and Lewis Dodd's from Widnes and all that. It doesn't matter. They care about the shirt when they're pulling it on. They're not there as a mercenary. They're not just there to pick up a wage. So it's vital. It's vital for the sport that we keep on bringing the young lads through. And when I say we, I mean every club in Super League, not just Saints. But it's vital for our continued success that we have an academy team who is consistently bringing lads into the first team squad and then giving them the opportunity to make it onto the field with the rest of the first team.
Yeah. Well done to the academy lads. I'm sure they've had a good week celebrating. And hopefully our reserves can do the business on Sunday in a tough tie against Wigan at the Robin Park Arena, 12 o'clock kickoff. Wigan unbeaten in 2023. They've only failed to win one. I think it was against Castleford in March where they drew. So we'll potentially be up against it. But fingers crossed they can do the business.
Yeah, hopefully so. I know we're going to miss in a couple of big names, including Bevan French for that one. So it might be tough. Joking aside, by the way, that rule, I've no problem with Wigan using it. Absolutely no problem with them using it. We've used it. Other teams have used it. Whether it should be shut or not is another matter. But while it's there...
Every time it gets used, you'd always see the story. Oh, they found a loophole. Like it's the first time it's ever been seen. We used it to use one of Morgan Knowles' games after he got banned against Halifax.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
But by a loophole, this loophole that they found by now must be about 6 miles wide. And so I have no problem with them using it. Whether it should be closed and you shouldn't be able to do it is another matter. But as long as it's there, I'd hope that if we could get away with using it again, as it's part of the rules, we would do.
Question, Kevin. If that Lee try had been given and Saints had finished in the top two, would George Delaney be missing a potential home semi-final next week?
Well, he would be missing the reserves final.
Correct. And no one would be moaning.
No, exactly right, Dave. And that is the whole point of it. He would be missing it because we'd say, okay, yeah, well, he would have been named in that because we've got players back. So, yeah, that's what he'd have been playing in.
It's not a loophole when it's clearly stated in the rule book. In playing, it took me 2 minutes to get it up on what games count.
It's almost the thing of Saints have found a loophole to keep winning games by scoring tries. No, it's in the rules. That's how you win a game. That's what they found.
A bigger question, Kevin, would be if Bevan French had put his hands on the referee in the middle of the season, would he have been given more than one game?
Probably, because around this time of the year, it's almost like you try to find reasons not to ban some players, or not to ban as many.
Is there an argument that a bit like in the World Cup, where unless you get sent off in the semi-final, you're not going to miss the World Cup final because you've had 2 yellows?
Yeah.
I personally think at this point in the year, unless somebody's committed grievous bodily harm, you want to see the best players of the best teams on the pitch because you want to see who the best team is overall. To be fair, I want to see that all season. I don't want to see players getting banned because they've tickled someone's hairline.
That's true. You don't want to see that. We keep saying about how there are potential ways of improving it, and there's pitfalls in the things we say, but at least we're trying to give ideas out there for people to discuss. And you don't want to see players banned for nothing. I don't want to see games re-reffed. The referees have got a tough enough job. We've said this and we keep saying it, and people don't seemingly understand it, or some people don't. It's not the referees. The referees have refereed the game. If they've sent someone off, they've sent someone off because they've seen something, or it's been reported to that something has happened, so someone gets a red card. I know Leeds fans will currently be screaming about the Johnny Lomax incident at their place earlier in the year. But we're on about the MRP who are going back, re-reffing a game and picking up little things that you think, well, surely the ref would have included that in his report. Surely the ref would have spotted that at the time. The ref's given something for it. Why are you now doing it? The fear is the fear of litigation. That's what their fear is.
The whole name of the panel is wrong. Match review panel. That means we are going to sit and watch the entire match from start to end to re-referee it. Yeah. It should be called incident review panel, where if an incident is referred to them either via the referee in his report or via the club's citing, they should be the only things that get reviewed. But then you could argue, well, if the referee's seen something in a game, why has he not done something about it? But then that's probably what on report is for. At the end of the day, here's one for you then, Kev. What is the point of a referee putting an incident on report anymore? Because it's going to get reviewed anyway.
Is it to do with the subs? I'm sure it's something to do with the substitution. So if there's an injury from it, I don't know if you get a free sub.
Possibly.
Someone can correct us on that. That might be why, rather than, and I think that's more for, that is your bonus now, even though it probably doesn't help you a great deal.
I do suspect this off-season there is going to be a huge change in the match review panel, because I don't think any club, well, Derek Bowman's definitely not happy with it. So if he's still about next season, he won't want it. Saints, Warrington, Hull KR have all fell a victim with some really dodgy bans. And at the end of the day, the clubs run the game. If the majority of clubs come together and want it changed, it will be changed. There's got to be a better system than us waiting for 3 o'clock on a Monday afternoon to find out who's not going to be playing this week because they've seen something that no one else has.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wins is over.
Onward.
Oh no, wins aren't over.
All right.
Betfred Super League Dream Team, Kevin. Where's Paul Vaughan's tang on?
They might have put him through a filter.
That must have been taken the day before he started using the sunbeds in Warrington. He's paler than Liam Farrell. Right, carry on.
I've nothing to add to that. I've genuinely nothing to add to
that. Thoughts on the team?
Don't care.
Yeah, it is an irrelevance, isn't it? It's almost like set to bait people. And you know what? I think when you look at it, in a lot of positions, when you take it individually, you can see why they were picked.
Yeah.
I've got no issue. Do you know what? I've got no issues with Josh Charnley being in there. No issues. Adam Kieran, Jack Wellesby, Bevan French, Lachlan Lamb, no issue. The only one I'd probably take real, not umbrage, but look at it and go, what? Why? Is Callum Watkins.
And that might be because we've not seen enough Salford games this year.
But I've seen enough Saints to know there's better second rows.
Yeah, true. That is very true. You could, I mean, people will argue about each one. You could say Bevan French hasn't played 6 all year. People might say it was Abbas Miski being top try scorer. He only started, I think he first started for Wigan in round 9. So argue it over a full season. You know, Paul Vaughan, I think he finished top meter maker.
But
I
then
think
with Abbas Miski, if you can say he's the top try scorer and he's only played 2/3 of the season,
should he be in it? Yeah.
For me, Abbas Miski is probably wondering how on earth he's missed out, which makes you wonder when do they decide this?
Yeah.
Does it get decided at the semi-finals, like round about the semi-final Challenge Cup final stage, before teams like Lee have essentially dipped over the last 5 weeks, haven't they?
Yeah. Possibly. Well, you'd hope that it was done almost ongoing. So, you know, if you do like, I don't know, player scores or man of the match every week, and you just keep it like the scores for the Man of Steel, you'd imagine that it's going to be along them lines, because otherwise you'd just be picking names out of a hat. By the way, how happy is Lachlan Lamb there? Genuinely don't think I've ever seen, and Ipape as well, is it? I genuinely don't think I've seen happier players. Well, apart from Connie when he hit the crossbar that I saw on social media this week.
Yeah. Right, that's the dream team. Yeah. Jake Wardle as well. I'm not sure about, or Kenny Dowell, but
I'm
not fussed. Can I just say, you almost feel, and we'll get onto this now with Coach of the Year nominations, which we'll come back to, and young player nominations, because Saints have been so dominant over the last 4 years, and we maybe haven't quite hit the same heights throughout this season. Is there a general feeling across the sport of rugby league, fans, pundits alike, that there's a bit of boredom with Saints winning everything? So when there's an opportunity to not give us awards, they've took the opportunity.
Possibly, I think you look at when Wigan were winning everything in the 80s and early 90s. People were bored of that too. So maybe I'm not looking too much into it. There's a couple that they've probably got not wrong, but you can argue, you can definitely have a strong case of putting someone else in there. But it doesn't bother me too much.
Just to provide a bit of balance here, I don't think Paul Wellens is Super League Coach of the Year. If you're because to be fair, you're not basing it on the World Club Challenge, or you shouldn't be, because if it's a Super League award, forget the World Club Challenge. For me, you're looking at, do you know when you look at the start of the season where you expect teams to finish and whether somebody's higher, lower?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Saints were probably expected by many to potentially finish top again. We finished joint top, but finished third on points difference.
Correct.
So essentially, have we finished it maybe, if it was a golf score, par?
Yeah, probably.
One over par, because we've not finished top and we've finished third. Whereas if I'd have said to you or a lot of people at the start of the year, where did you expect Salford to finish? Not many people would have gone above 9th or 10th.
And that's why he's in it.
That's why he's in it, because he's finished well under par. Steve McNamara, I think John Wilkins said he's got a lot of friends in the game. Again, for me, Catalan have finished roughly maybe a place above maybe where many thought they would. I think Matt Peat has done a good job at Wigan, but I'd say Wigan have finished roughly about par, where maybe a place above where they expected to finish. Paul Rowley, I have no idea how he has made that, because a lot of people would have said Salford would make the 6. They haven't. So for me, he's underperforming in his job. So how has he made that list? I think the one that has well overperformed, just like not overperformed, but finished higher than expectation, is Willie Peters at Hull KR, and should be on that list. I would expect that list, if you're going to go for three people: Adrian Lamb, Willie Peters, and Matt Peat, because I think he's turned Wigan round.
I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I think Steve McNamara's done a good job from someone who didn't seem to be doing well at Castleham, but he's got them firing and he's been there quite a few years. As you say, Matt Peat, absolutely hate the fact that he seems like a decent bloke. And he's got Wigan firing and got them to the top of the league. People might point at the fact that they've had a couple of easy games like Hull KR, was it, before the Cup, when they played all the kids and beat them by 60 odd. Still got to go out there and put that result on them. Willie Peters, I think, has done a tremendous job, absolutely tremendous job over at Hull KR. But people were tipping Lee to go straight back down. So for them, and I know you're not taking Challenge Cup into it, because you can't, because it's Super League nominations, it's not Challenge Cup Coach of the Year. Lee have batted well above where a lot of people expected him to be, or a lot of people probably outside Lee expected them to be. When we spoke to Derek earlier in the year, I think he was hopeful for playoffs. I think it's a no-brainer for who is Coach of the Year there, for who's done the best job with the expectation. And
limited resources as well, with a small squad. Listen,
with a small squad, no reserves, no academy.
And a little bit of luck comes into that in terms of keeping your players fit and not suffering many bans. But do you know what? That's the rub of the green. Adrian Lamb, Coach of the Year. I think many would have potentially tipped Hull KR to finish around about 6th. But I think the way Willie Peters has gone about his work there, and he seems to have really brought the club along. They've been my top 2, but yeah, I'd go Adrian Lamb. Young Player of the Year nominations, Kevin.
Yes, the coffee that they do around Super League must be tremendous, because I've completely, and I know I am saying this with my Redvee glasses, hats, t-shirts on, but I must have just dreamt George Delaney this season. Must have just made him up, and really I've been watching, I don't know, like another player.
The hardest position in the game to play as a young player, which is why you don't see many props in Super League who are playing at the highest level under the age of 23, 24 minimum. And he's doing it at 19, week in, week out, starting prop when we've needed him, and he's tremendous, and he's not on the list.
Yeah,
really.
I got to trot out my favourite quote of Statistics About Bikinis yesterday. What they reveal is suggestive and what they conceal is vital. And it really brings out the woodwork the people who don't understand that quote. And that's fine. I just wouldn't get into discourse with anybody who doesn't understand it, because there's no point. I might as well teach the cats how to play chess. Absolutely no point.
He beat me last week.
What's that? He beat you
last week.
And people are saying you can't argue with data because it's subjective, but you can, because you can mold data to show whatever you want it to. So, say for example, let's pick Tom Johnson off the team of the year. Tom Johnson might have made 300 meters a game. He might have scored 20 tries, but you know what? He's dropped the ball over his own try line 18 times, knocked on 48 times. So you could, and he hasn't, but you could argue, right, look at one set of stats and go, why is Tom Johnson in there? Then you look at another set of stats and go, that's why he's in there. You can always build an argument to what you want it to be. So stats don't take into account anything that you cannot tangibly measure. So coming in and playing one of the toughest positions and doing so well that week after week after week, you're getting plaudits for it. And it's not a case of we need to take him out the firing line. If anything, it's we need to keep him in this team because he is so vital for what we do.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's it. But I'm not going to start arguing with idiots because they'll just drag me down to their level and beat me with experience.
The two players I would have had on that list for Young Player of the Year are Brad O'Neill and George Delaney. And do you know what? I'd have no issue with Brad O'Neill being the Young Player of the Year either.
Correct. He'll win that, or he should win that.
By a country mile.
Yes. By reams and reams and reams, he should win that. And even if it was, as you say, Brad O'Neill against George Delaney, I think the nomination would be enough for George. And yeah, he'd be disappointed if he didn't win it. But there's a compelling case for Brad O'Neill absolutely wiping the floor with the other two there and winning it. I'd be surprised, mind you. I was about to say I'm surprised if he didn't win it, but gestures broadly at everything that goes on in Super League.
The fact he's come in and he's made that hook and roll his own at Wigan.
Yeah,
Wigan could have their hooker there for the next 10 years.
Yeah, they could be. Yeah.
Another lad who's come from Halton Farnworth Hornets. Tell you what, Widnes would have some team if they could get all the locals back.
I know. I was going to say they must put something in the water, but as a Widnes native at the moment, I'm not going to mention it too much.
Right. Have we stopped moaning, Kevin?
Yes.
Maybe.
Have we? Possibly.
Right. Squad news, Kevin. One change this week. George Delaney. That's why he's not been nominated, because he's got himself a ban.
Yeah.
Is replaced by Dan Norman in the 21-man squad. Apart from James Bell, who missed out last week through illness, who will come back into the 17. Is that it? Is that it? Job done? Dan Norman, Ben Davis, Sam Royal, and John Bennison to miss out, or does John Bennison come in ahead of Will Hopewati?
Unless Will's got a knock, I can't see it. I think we've seen all season, whether you agree with it or not, that's how Wello goes. Goes for the more experienced Will Hopewati over on that wing. And team-wise, it's just going to be James Bell in for George Delaney, isn't it? There's no real debate, I think, about anyone else.
Surprise!
Yeah.
Ben Davis is playing centre, Sam Royals in the second row, Dan Norman's starting at prop.
Yeah.
Actually, do you know what? We're going to keep Will Hopewati in the team. We're just going to play John Bennison at fullback and drop Jack Wellsby instead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There you go, Wyatt. Turn off now.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be many surprises. I think it will be literally what we saw last week, with the exception of James Bell coming in because George Delaney's... we probably would have seen the George Delaney, James Bell switch anyway. I think last week,
I think Moses would have missed out.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Moses would have missed out. Sorry. Well, it depends, because it depends whether you want to keep that kind of freshness at dummy half as you go through. And I think asking James Roby to keep doing 80 minutes, mind you, we'd have thrown James Bell in there, and then I'd have carried on whinging about us not playing a 9 at 9.
Hey, Kev, do you know you were about coffee before, what they put it in Super League? Do you know how Moses makes his coffee?
Go on.
He brews it.
No. I actually knew what that punchline was going to be, and I'm just going to ignore it and tell you to move on quickly. Please tell me you've Googled that joke while I've been talking about James Bell.
What hairstyle did Moses get at the hairdressers? A middle parting.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear. This is what the people come and watch Redvee for, Kev.
They'll have switched off by now.
Well, they better not have, because it is James Roby's final home game. Potentially last ever game.
Unfortunately, yeah, it is potentially his last ever game. And I hope those that can make it do come down and watch it. I understand that the kickoff time might not be to everybody's best, but if you can make it down there, hopefully we get a good atmosphere, good crowd there, and see James off into the sunset
He's been talking to the lads who do the graphics and turned around and said, "Listen, lads, it's my last game. You're putting me on the poster. Can you airbrush me a little bit?"
Listen, I would if I was him. If I had that much standing at Saints and I was on a graphic, I would be saying
they should have popped his 18-year-old head on it and said, "It's all been a vision."
Yeah.
I said before we played at Halliwell Jones Stadium to you, I don't know whether I said it on here, I'd probably give it the bravado on here, but it worried me in terms of a potential banana skin. I was more worried about losing that game than results going in our favour. I just felt it was a banana skin for us. We came through, but it wasn't easy. We made hard work of it. It was 12-6 until the last 5 seconds. And we got the victory. Warrington have had a bit of a hoodoo over us in one-off playoff type games, cup games over recent years. They didn't expect to make the 6. They've snuck in at the end. They've got nothing to lose on this game, and I feel that potentially gives you a dangerous beast to play against.
It does. I think you can. I mean, if we're looking at results from 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, time to pack up on that. Players have changed, not all of them, obviously, but players have changed, coaches have changed, structures have changed, everything like that. So I'm not going to read too much into them having a hoodoo over us. What I will read into is the fact that they've nothing to lose. They can leave it all out there, get beaten and go, we finished 6th. We shouldn't have won that game.
Didn't want to go to Catalan and get beat by 60 anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's what makes them very dangerous. That they can try all the off-the-cuff stuff that Hull were trying last week, and if it comes off and they end up winning the game, it's a free hit for them. Whereas we're expected, very much expected, to win the game. We should win the game. We should, as the form team, at least one of the form teams in the. I think are we 9 unbeaten now?
Yeah.
Wigan 8.
Yeah. And you'd like to think, Kev, you're not going to want to lose James Roby's final ever home game. You're not. Louis not going to want to go out losing to Warrington. But there's their team talk, isn't it? Let's retire James Roby.
Yes. Let's retire some of the lads here. Let's finish their season right now. Exactly. No one's expecting them to. Oh, sorry. No one outside Warrington is hand on heart expecting them to win. So why don't we go and upset the apple cart? Why don't we just go and get amongst it, go and get involved, make it a tougher game for them as possible. Try and use our speed that we've got in Duffy and Matty Ashton and people like that, and cause them problems. This isn't me being downbeat about it. This is me being realistic and saying that's what they should be doing. That's what they should be looking at, and trying to do things a little bit differently, because what they tried last time and the time before didn't work. So they just need to change it up a little bit. And we need to click, and we need to start when we've got possession down at that on the try line, making sure we put points on the board, and plenty of points. I'm not saying we need to be 36-0 up at half time, but I'm saying instead of being 6-0 up and me saying to you at half time in that Warrington game, we should have scored more points here. Was it 6 or 12? And we should have scored more points here. And then starting to go, this is starting getting squeaky. We need to be putting teams under the hammer, so they've got to try something. And we can just trust in our defence, as we do, to get us through a game.
Yeah. Let's hope that is the case. Can I just point out at this moment in time, if we lose, I won't be on Redvee TV, but that is the same case if we win. I won't be on the instant reaction on Saturday because I will be going to Everton. I will be departing early. I'm hoping the game won't still be in doubt when I walk out of the stadium, but I have 2 games to attend on Saturday.
That could be a Saturday of hurt.
It could be. But listen, the problems are about having two teams in your life. So yeah, Kev, instant reaction is in your capable hands. So I don't want people saying your season's being ended and you've gone in hiding. I will not be there regardless, win or lose.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
I will be going. If we lose, I will be going to watch my second team lose also. With a last-minute Ross Barkley winner.
Yeah,
nailed on. Put your money on.
I'd take a draw in that Everton Luton game if I was you.
Hey, listen, we're on a roll. 2 wins in a week. Right. Are we going to do the Warrington squad?
Can do if you want.
Well, is that a question then, Kev? Let's pack up now.
You asked the question. Don't forget to like, share.
Right.
Yeah.
Warrington squad then, Kevin.
Yeah.
They've not put numbers on.
Again. They do it in alphabetical order. So, because of that, I'm going to read their squad news from their website because I couldn't be bothered doing it myself. Matty Ashton is included after recovering from illness, although Josh Thewlis is ruled out through injury. Peter Matautia and Gil Dudson both returned from hamstring injuries, with Paul Vaughan suspended.
Brilliant. Predictions, Kevin?
Saints by 7.
Don't say that because I'm leaving early. Does anyone know where the early exit turnstile is? If you do, let us know in the comments below. Right, I'll go. I'm not predicting.
No, you've got to. You just made me predict.
All right, Saints by 32.
Clipped. Used forever now.
Oh, dear. People know they shouldn't take my predictions seriously.
Yeah, true.
I
was actually stopped by a gent. I was stopped by 2 gents on Sunday, a Mark Percival testimonial event. One of them asked me, why does your mate keep coming up with these Saints by 64 predictions? And I went, you just have to ask him. So thanks to him for watching. And a young lad called Matty stopped me and asked for a shout out as well. So Matty, he does play a bit of rugby. He asked for a bit of a shout out on here. So there you go, Matty. Done and done.
Hi, Matty. Yeah, people don't realise if you've not watched Redvee for the last 6 years, my predictions are always wild, massive scores. As generally a bit of a laugh. Yeah. Because I don't want to be saying Saints by 6. What I will say is my predictions on here don't match what they are in writing in the Super League prediction competition.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Which has got money riding on it.
Yeah.
Didn't win that either, but there we go.
No. Yeah, same.
Right, Kevin, enjoy Saturday. Is it your birthday this weekend?
It is my birthday this weekend.
Big 5-0?
No.
If you see Kevin in a pub, buy him a pint. I'd buy him one, but I'm going to watch Everton against Luton instead.
Fair enough.
Priorities, Kevin. Priorities.
Yeah.
And we may be back here next week talking about trip to France. Maybe. And if not, we'll discuss something else instead. We'll find something to talk about.
We will find something to talk about.
Nice. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll catch you Kev will catch you for the instant reaction on Saturday. Take it easy.